Okay, so we'll start getting started. Let me turn my camera on. So as a reminder, as always, we are going to record this. I've already remembered to do it. So for those of you who want to revisit this information later, it will be available on our YouTube channel, which we will email out. Um, we also understand that students have class, and this is important information that everyone wants access to. So we'll have that available. And because of that, just remember to keep yourself on mute until we get to the Q&A portion, just so we can make sure that the recording is crystal clear for everyone to hear. All right, so today we are talking about the summer courses and the transfer credit process. I will be talking about how you find classes, where you can look, and the approval process. We're also going to talk about how you ultimately will get those credits to transfer to RPI. And then it will be into the weeds a little bit, but we're also going to talk about how these summer courses may and most likely will impact your fall schedule as well, and what to do about that if it pertains to you. So to begin, we are, of course, on the SOE Hub website, and we are going to scroll down to our academic resources and support, where you will find a button that says summer classes and transferring credits to Rensselaer. And this is the resource that we have created to help you with not only these summer courses that we're going to talk about, but also for courses that you may have taken before enrolling at RPI. So if you are someone who has, you did dual enrollment, you took a community college course between high school and college, or you have AP credits that still haven't been transferred to RPI, this resource still exists and it still pertains to you guys. It hasn't been updated for the incoming students yet. This is all about you. So you can use this to finalize that process. We, of course, are going to be talking about summer courses today. So this guide, again, has been updated for this summer. So this is this summer's process. So if we click this link, we can get started. All right. So, of course, this resource is available to you. I'm not going to press play on any of the videos, but you can certainly go back to watch any of the videos that you think would be helpful to you. I know some of us learn better watching videos than necessarily reading, so there's a good mix throughout the guide. These are the contents that we're going to cover. So important notes, where to find classes, the process and the form, the final step, and then we already covered AP credits, but there is the button at the bottom of the resource too. So the most important note that I'm going to say today is that all courses, regardless of anything, need to be approved before you take them this summer. It doesn't matter if a friend of yours took it last summer, if a friend of yours is taking it right now. It doesn't matter if it's on a transfer course guide, or if a professor says that it's probably fine. All courses have to be approved. The approval process is not actually that challenging either, so that's the good news. To kind of move through the steps to get the courses approved. Okay. So this is a pretty important note. Additionally, there are limits on transfer credits. So first of all, you can only have 20 credits of AP applied to your degree, and you can only have 32 credits total. So if you're up to that 20 and you're thinking about summer courses, you still have some space to take those summer courses. And if you have more than that, which some students do, you can always talk to your hub advisor about which ones you should apply towards your degree completion and which ones you might want to shift over to not applied towards degree. Within each core that you have, so there are other restrictions. So within the Haas core, you can only apply 8 transfer credits, which typically is 2 classes. Although especially with Haas courses, you'll always want to double check because sometimes they come in at 3 credits rather than 4 credits. And if that's the case, maybe there's some wiggle room. The math and science core is the same. So you can only apply 8 credits to your math and science core. If you're looking to do that over the summer, and adding to the number, to your math and science core, you will need additional approval from the School of Science. There are some flexibilities and wiggle room depending upon your curriculum and, the conversation that you have with the School of Science. But that is a limit that you're going to want to keep in mind. And then absolutely you can take courses while you're abroad, for those of you who are international students or if you're studying abroad. But as always, they just have to be approved first. And the approval process really exists, and I'll reiterate this a few times for a couple of reasons. One, you don't want to waste time and money. You don't want to take something that can't ultimately come back to RPI. And two, what the approvals are doing is they're ensuring that the content and the curriculum that you take at another institution will keep you updated with the rigor and the content that we have at RPI. So you don't take a Physics 2 somewhere else and then come to RPI and then have your butt kicked by the advanced courses where Physics 2 was a prerequisite because you didn't have the same curriculum. So that's what they're looking for. They're helping you with the continuation of your studies. So first question is always going to be, where can you actually find classes? So this video here will navigate you through that guide, if you want to watch that. Again, just because it's in the guide, it doesn't mean that it is approved. You will still need to have the course approved. So if we go to the transfer course guide, this is what it looks like. You can search by state and you can search by nation. So we can see states, we can see nations. For this example, I'll use our friendly local community college, which is Hudson Valley. But as you go through, what you're going to see are all the colleges that students have previously transferred college credits from. So let me click on alphabetically, Hudson Valley. There we go. Get courses. So as we scroll down this list, you can easily see these are all the courses that have in the past been up for approval, and what their equivalent is at RPI. So you can see that at Hudson Valley, they have a Civil 1110 course, which transfers in as Engineering 1200 and meets the 1 credit requirement for that course. Again, we would still get it approved, but you can kind of get an idea of where you take courses and what's likely to come back to RPI, which can save some time if you're not really sure where to begin. The other thing to note, and some schools, and I'll just take a chance here. Oh, that's more courses than I thought. So some schools have a really short list, and it doesn't mean that if there's a course you want to take at an institution, you can't. It just means that it hasn't been approved before. It hasn't been put on our school's radar. So that's also part of the approval process. So you can certainly check things out that you wouldn't find, for example, at Hamilton College. Cool. All right, so we'll go back to the guide. We also have the secondary guide that you can search by course as opposed to institution. So if we look at this, we can easily do a control find and look for Physics 2. These are going to be all the courses where Physics 2 courses have been transferred in, again, previously. Just because you don't see your school on here, it doesn't mean we can't necessarily have it come to RPI. This is just the list, the working list. So this could be helpful if you're, again, where could I take a Physics 2 course? Okay. So that's the first section. So this is how to find the courses. If you have questions about this, awesome. Write them down, throw them in the chat. I'll get to all the questions at the end of the session, and we can go through it together. The next part, of course, is the transfer credit approval process itself. So once you have the classes that you'd like to take in the institution where you'd like to take them, the next step is getting that approval. So again, all courses have to be approved. The deadline for approval is by the end of the spring semester. So my suggestion would be last day of classes, April 26th, make sure that form is in your advisor's hands and it has all the appropriate elements with it. We are the last step in this process, so there's stuff that you have to do before you give it to us. So just keep that in mind. Again, don't waste your time and money. follow these steps, if you just go ahead and take a course without checking in about it, um, even if you want it to, it doesn't mean it's going to come into RPI. So this is very important. And we do every year have students who make a choice to take a course without checking in or getting approval, and that course won't come back to RPI. And there's nothing your hub advisor can do about it. There's nothing the institution can do about it. If it isn't equivalent, it can't replace a course, which makes sense. And so these are the 5 steps that you need to follow for approval. So step 1, there is a transfer guide form. It is a PDF form. You really do want to look at page 2 of the form. It has a lot of important information. Of course, some of it isn't going to be for you, such as this graduate section or student section, but this top part here and this middle part are very important for you to just look at, read through. You want to see what you're agreeing to anytime you fill out a form. Step 2 is collecting all the required information that must be submitted with your form when seeking approval. So this is what the departments are going to be asking for. They want an official course description, which can be a URL to a college catalog, just like we have at RPI, that shows a description of what is in the course. You can take a screenshot and submit that with the URL if there's a lot of information on the particular page and you want them to narrow in on that course. That helps make things move a little bit quicker. If you do have access to a syllabus, that can also be helpful. It's not necessarily a requirement outside of the School of Engineering to have a syllabus, though it is a requirement for engineering courses. So if you're thinking about taking, a CAD course or an IEA type course, you will need to have the syllabus. For these types of information, you can certainly reach out to the other school's registrar's office. You should be able to find faculty information as well, so you're welcome to reach out to them. And of course, the registrar's office can help you connect with other offices and departments across their campus. The other information that you're going to need is the official course name and number from the institution. So for example, at Hudson Valley, they call their Physics 2 course Physics 151 compared to here at RPI, which is Physics 1200. We need both of these numbers. We both call it Physics 2, but some schools might have a different title for their Physics 2 course. So you're going to need their official title written on that form. And then, of course, the equivalent course at RPI. So it might not be Physics 2, it might be Chemistry or Biology. So you'll just write Chem 1100, Chemistry 1. Step 3 is filling out that approval form. And again, we have a video to walk you through that if you want the extra resource. But if you click this button, it will take you to the most recent version of this form. You could fill it out online if you want to do that, if you have the capability to do that. Or you can, of course, print it out and write on it, whichever makes the most sense for you. This top part is going to collect your information. Every single piece of this form has to be filled out. You can't leave anything blank. So if you have questions as you're filling it out, I recommend using a WebEx Wednesday for that. This is where you're going to put your course number. So here would be the Physics 151 and then the Physics 1200. This is where you'd put Physics 2, and then this is the number of credits. So this might be harder, but if you look in the transfer course guide, you should see how many credits it's going to come in as. If not, you just want to put in how many credits it is at the other institution, how many credits it is at RPI, and when your approver looks at it, they will let you know if this is correct or not. If it's in the transfer course guide, you can check the box. And then again, this is where you're going to get the specific department approver to sign. And then your hub advisor will be the last signature that you need. Here is page 2. So as shown before in the guide, and it looks like they've spaced it out a little nicer. So it does go to a page 3, so it's a little bit easier to read, which is really nice. Step 4 is the approvals. So once you collect the information you need, you get the form downloaded, you filled out the form other than the signature piece, this is where you're going to send them. So if it's a Haas course, you're going to send it to Professor Fajan, If it's a science course, you're going to send it to Chad. If it's a management Alali course, you're going to send it to Professor Ballinger. Engineering is Professor Anderson or Professor Olschlager. And once they approve the course or give you their feedback or tell you the course can't be approved, you can make the next step, depending upon that information. But if it is approved, you will then send it to your hub advisor, and we will sign the form, basically making sure that all the boxes have been checked and it looks like you're totally set for taking the class and having it brought back to RPI. So we help you make sure everything looks good, and there's nothing that you need to worry about. Step 5 is once you have all the approvals, you then have to send the form to the registrar's office. Very likely your hub advisor is going to help you with step 5, but what we really want to impress upon you is learn how to start making copies or scans of every form that you submit before you submit it with the signatures. Human error is just part of life, and unfortunately, that part of life can be stressful and frustrating if a form gets lost, for example. Say you use your personal email to send this form to the registrar's office, it ends up in their spam and it's gone. They don't have it, and you can't find it in your sent box. You have to go through that process again, and it could be very stressful depending on the time of that. So you can take a picture of it with your phone. You can use free apps like the Adobe Scan app, and then save it in a folder on your desktop. Even putting a note to yourself like I submitted it on this date. Anything to just keep this paperwork organized, and this is something you're going to be doing from now until forever. So it's a skill set that you want to start developing if you haven't already. So that's the process. So then, once it's approved, you're good. You don't need to think about anything other than registering for the course, paying the other institution, and then actually going to class over the summer. Once you complete the course, then the final step is going to be sending your transcript to RPI. So our registrar's office cannot apply any transfer course without both the transfer credit approval form, which we just discussed, and your official transcript. So once you have a final grade, which has to be a C plus or better, or sorry, a C minus or better, you can ask the registrar's office from the other school to send the official transcript to RPI. So you can do it a few different ways. They can email it, they can fax it, or they can snail mail it. Once it gets to our registrar's office, they will, basically they have an organizational system. They'll see that the course was approved. They'll see that they have the transcript, and you should then see it appear on your official RPI transcript. Keep in mind, it does take a few weeks for this process to happen. It's certainly not going to be instant. This is a busy time for all schools with bringing in new students, and of course everyone doing summer classes over the summer. So you might not see it until midway through the fall semester, but if you follow all these steps, you should be okay. And then again, if you're missing AP credits, you can follow that process previously. So, as mentioned, there's one more piece about this that I wanted to talk about. If you are planning to take a course that will be, sorry, I have to get my brain out of the transfer credit stuff. If you're taking a course this summer that is not, or is a prerequisite to a course that you're going to take this fall, there is going to be an additional step. So that step will be, of course, getting an override to register for that fall course. So if we use Calculus 2 as an example, say you're taking Calculus 2 this coming summer, you're not going to be able to register for differential equations during the spring semester because you haven't checked off that prerequisite box yet. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go to your faculty member of the section that you're hoping to register for the fall. You explain to them, I haven't yet completed this prerequisite requirement, but I am going to take it over the summer. And of course you can show them, the course that you're planning to take. You can show them that the course is approved, whatever helps you feel more comfortable about it, whatever helps them feel more comfortable about it. And they should give you an override into that section. It shouldn't be an issue, but obviously, if you need any support with that, your hub advisor will support you. And that's going to be, the additional stuff to think about beyond the approval process this spring. Um, so I know that's a little bit into the weeds. So I apologize if I hurt your brain a little bit as we walked through all of this. But again, this guide is here to at least walk you through the approval process. And then remember, if I am taking something over the summer that is a prerequisite for a fall course, I'm going to need approval to register for that course at the time. Cool. And that's really it. That's everything I wanted to cover today. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Oh, hold on. My computer's a little slow. And let's get into questions. So I do see that there's a few in the chat. So feel free to throw more in the chat as I address these questions. But yes, let's begin with this. So first question, could I transfer credits from a Canadian institution? In theory, yes, you just have to go through that approval process. That should be okay. So just follow the steps. I would highlight when you fill out the transfer credit form, what institution it is and where it is. There isn't actually a spot on the transfer credit form to include the state or nation, which I personally think there should be, because it definitely makes it easier for those of us who are approving. So I would just write on there that it is a Canadian college. All right, next question. What if a course transfers in as a 3-credit course instead of a 4-credit course? This is a really good question because you might start to be familiar with the idea that you have to meet a certain number of credits to not only graduate, but to meet certain cores within your curriculum. So that is something you want to keep in mind. A really good example of this, as I mentioned earlier, are Haas courses. So if you transfer in Haas courses and they're coming in as 3 credits, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to take Haas courses to fill in that gap. So if you transfer in a 3-credit Haas course, you're going to need to take one more Haas course at a 1 credit to make it a 4-credit Haas course. So sometimes it's really easy. For example, those of you who are, taking music lessons or part of orchestra, those are all 1-credit courses. So that's gonna fill in the gap. And sometimes it's a little bit more complicated because it does happen with math courses from time to time. So you would need to have a math course to fulfill that 1-credit gap. So that's something that you'll need to work with the math department on and the School of Science on. And if you know about it, because of course during the approval process you're going to see how many credits it'll come in as, you can have that conversation right there with the person who's helping you approve that course. And, while you're creating your 4-year plan, that's something else you're going to want to keep in mind. So if you do have a course coming in at 3 credits, you can add a line to your 4-year plan, really anywhere, saying that I need 1 more credit of math or science or Haas, so that you don't forget that you need that, because you will not graduate if that credit is missing. So that's really important information. So I'm glad that you asked that question. This question, I've heard that transfer students have different benefits over students who are simply transferring credits. If I finish my degree over the summer, would I be able to transfer as a transfer student, or does the fact that I'm already accepted as a regular student mean I won't be able to do that? Yes, there's a huge difference between transfer students and taking a course over the summer. I'm not quite sure what you mean by finishing your degree over the summer, so I would have you connect with your hub advisor about that one specifically. But the reason why those transfer students who have different requirements, and again, I'm not quite sure what you've heard about benefits, but it's because they finished an associate's degree, or they have they're coming in with a bunch more experience. It's a totally different, realm. It's not really what we're talking about here with, taking 1 or 2 courses over the summer. Cool. When is fall registration? So you will find that information on the academic calendar, but we have emailed about that. Regarding the transfer student question, if that's possible, would it affect scholarships? Again, this is a different this is a different subject than what we're talking about today, so I would just have you connect with your hub advisor during WebEx Wednesday today, and we can talk about that more in depth. Do I have to take the course in person or it can be fully online? This is a great question. So any course that has a lab has to be taken in person. So Physics 2 would have to be taken in person. Calculus 2, however, could be an online course. So there are resources. So New York State has something called Open SUNY, which actually they did change the name of it. So let me. Yep, they call it SUNY Online now, which is obviously that's a much better title. And I'm gonna drop that in the chat right now. Um, and this is a way that you can search for online courses. So it's a really nice tool for, again, if you're looking for a course that is not going to include a lab like a math course. Lab courses have to be in person. Okay. Yep, gonna skip over these transfer questions because they are a different subject. And then WebEx Wednesday, if you're paying attention to our chat, then you will see all the information you need there. Okay, do I have any other questions about transferring courses in this summer? And also I'll hang out for a couple minutes right here in this room, and you can go straight to the WebEx chat right now to sign up for WebEx Wednesday. And have a one-on-one if you want to talk about your plan specifically with your hub advisor, because it can get a little bit personal, of course, depending upon what your goals are and where your curriculum is at. So feel free to go sign up right now. All hub advisors are on deck and waiting. And have a wonderful day. I will, as mentioned, I'll hang out here for just a couple minutes if there's anything else. Do you have to pay for summer classes or would a scholarship transfer? Yes, you will have to pay for the courses at another institution. You might ask that school if there's any support for taking courses, but it is outside of RPI. This is something that you're electing to do outside of your acceptance and enrollment at RPI, so you would have to pay for those additional credits. That's what I'm a huge advocate of community colleges, because their prices are very reasonable, and you can still get really good curriculum for summer courses. If you compare it to what we have at RPI, where you might be paying a couple thousand per credit, at community colleges you're looking at a couple hundred per credit. It's a big difference even between Hudson Valley and RPI. So I love community colleges for summer classes. I think they're a really strong resource. That's a good question too. Cool. Any other questions? All right. If not, you guys are definitely welcome to again meet with your hub advisor if you're looking for a more specific conversation. But I do hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Okay.